それじゃあお昼に行きましょうか。
Sure. The lunch bell went off and I headed to the committee room with Akari and the others. This exchange had become a part of my daily routine. The usual members gathered in the committee room, including Aoi and Kureha. My lunchbox even went off without a hitch. About the time we all started eating, Kana shyly spoke to Kureha.
聞きました。あかりちゃんとクレハちゃん、昨日は大変だったようですね。それほどでもない。でも確かにそうね。ケイスケもいてくれたし、なんてことなかったわ。ケイスケさんが。そうですか。あかりちゃんを助けてくれてありがとうございます。
Nah, nothing you need to thank me for. I was just doing whatever I wanted.
しかし、ケイスケは結構大胆なんだね。さすがの僕もびっくりしたよ。
Huh?
私も聞きました。あかりちゃんの前で彼氏宣言までされたそうじゃないですか。
Otome-senpai wiggled her hips and squealed with glee, sending Akari and I into huge coughing fits. Who spilled the beans? I guess there were a lot of eyewitnesses. It was a small island, so rumors were bound to spread like wildfire.
ちょっとお兄ちゃん、その件について詳しく。
Oh boy, it was just in the heat of the moment, and that seemed like the easiest way to get my point across. I never claimed I was her boyfriend, by the way.
似たようなものだろう。俺の大事な女とこ言っていたからな。なんですって？
But that doesn't mean I said it as her boyfriend, does it?
ですが、嘘じゃないんですよね。
Huh? Yeah, I guess. She is a precious female friend. Saying Akari is a precious woman to me isn't a lie.
あらあらまあまあ、男の子ですね、ケイスケ君。私も一度そんなこと言われてみたいです。
Hey, please don't tease me, senpai.
大事な女？
Akari's face just poofed red.
大事な女。
The veins in Aoi's temples were bulging.
ちなみに、昨日の3人組は顔写真を手配して渡航禁止にしておいたから安心していいよ。まあ、二度とこの島に来ようとも思わないだろうけどね。
This should be his usual smile, but Kumakichi was eerie enough today to ruin the entire mood. He must have mobilized the Sakagami family and done something or other. That's great news, huh, Akari? Now you can focus on work and the hunt for the fake Ura.
でも捜査には連れて行かないからね。
You're still saying that? That was one hardship down, but I still hadn't accomplished my original goal of going on patrols with Akari. It felt like we'd gotten a little closer, so I wished she would just acknowledge me already. When afternoon classes came to an end, Akari packed up her belongings and hightailed it out of the building. I collected my things and followed after her. School's over, but it's still bright out. The sun's been setting later recently.
だからついてきちゃダメって言ってるでしょ。遊びじゃないのよ。
Akari grimaced and pointed her finger in my face. She must have been getting fed up with my tagging along. I wasn't playing around, but I couldn't afford to tell her the real reason. Oh, no worries. I'm just out on a walk. You know, the usual.
その言い訳は聞き飽きたわ。いい加減にしないとストーカーとして通報するわよ。
Look, that's rough. I don't think you have it in you to sell out a friend, though.
お願い、本当に帰って。それこそ友達を危ない目に遭わせたくないのよ。
I can't leave our klutzy samurai alone either, you know.
だからうっかり侍はやめてってば。 ポカやったの一度だけじゃない。一度だけじゃないと思うけどな。カナ
Kana popped out of nowhere and made for some promising reinforcement.
知ってますか、ケイスケさん。あかりちゃんはスペック的には優秀なのに、時々とんでもないうっかりを起こすんです。
Haha, I figured as much.
はい、やっぱりです。昔からそうなんです。だから違うってば。ねえ、あかりちゃん、真剣に聞いて。私はケイスケさんを連れて2人でパトロールした方がいいと思うよ。うっかりミスを防ぐだけじゃなくて、心の支えとしても。心の支え
Kana's voice gradually grew more and more serious, which prompted Akari to simmer down. With that, Kana continued to speak.
あかりちゃんが強いのは知ってるけど、中身はやっぱり女の子なんだよ。昨日みたいなことがあった時、味方になってくれる男の子がそばにいてくれるのってすごく心強いと思う。でも偽裏が出てきたらどうするのよ。戦いに巻き込まれたら危ないわ。ケイスケは普通の学生なのよ。友達に怪我を負わせるような真似、私にはできない。
My heart gave a harsh pang when I saw how genuinely concerned she was for my well-being. She really was a great person.
それならあかりちゃんがケイスケさんを守ってあげればいいんじゃないかな。だけどあかりちゃんならできるよね。小さい頃からずっと稽古を重ねてきた自慢の剣があるもんね。そりゃできなくはないけど。
Akari seemed to agree with the sentiment. Such old yet close friends really were something else. Kana knew exactly what to say to push her in the right direction. Let me ask this of you one more time too. I really am worried about you. When you got wrapped up with those guys yesterday, you got shaken up and had tons of openings too.
だってあれは。
Yes, I said as much yesterday, but I believe that was inevitable, since you're a girl, Akari. You know, to tell you the truth, I was actually a little happy at the time. I wondered if I was finally able to help you. When you thanked me at the end, it made me super happy. Sorry for thinking about stuff like that, especially given the situation.
力になってくれたのは本当だし。あら、やっぱり。ならどうかな。ケイスケさんとパトロールしてみない？きっと力になってくれると思うよ。でもやっぱり友達をみすみす危険な目に遭わせるなんて。
Akari still voiced her dissent, but it was significantly toned down and much weaker compared to before. One more push was all it was going to take. I couldn't afford to waste this opportunity. In that case, why don't I tag along as your assistant on a trial basis of sorts? If I'm not of any help to you, then I'll back off. I'll follow your orders, and I can hightail it immediately if things start to get dicey. You know how good I am at making a getaway already, don't you?
それはあかりちゃん、改めて私からもお願い。パトロールは2人でしてほしいの。例えばほら、偽浦さんを見つけた時、戦いながら応援を呼べると思う？それはわからない。ケイスケさんがそばにいたら応援を呼んでくれるよ。そうしたら偽浦さんを捕まえられる可能性が高くなるよね。まあそうよね。じゃあ答えは決まりだね。
Yeah. Akari looked between us as we showered her with questions and looked ready to offer even more objections. But all that came out of her lips was a huge sigh.
もう仕方ないわね。じゃあわかったわよ。カナがそんなに言うならしばらくはお試しってことで一緒に来ていいわ。
Alright, thanks, Akari.
よかったですね、ケイスケさん。
Yeah, thanks to you too, Kana. Kana smiled sweetly and nodded. She really was a huge help. To be honest, I doubted there was anything I could have done about this stalemate on my own. Man though, Kana definitely fit the role of the head of the Sakagami family, or maybe I should call her a hell of a tactician.
自分から危険に飛び込んで喜ぶなんて、あなたって本当に変な人ね。
I am excited, since it means I get to spend time with you.
それではお話がまとまったところで、私はこれでお互いパトロール頑張りましょう。
Yeah.
じゃあ行く？
Right.
本当にテンション高いわね。なんだかこっちまで気合入っちゃうわ。
As we saw off a smiling Kana, the two of us openly set out on our joint patrol session. It felt like I was standing at the starting line at long last. Now, time to get psyched up. We walked around together after that, walking side by side through the streets which we'd previously ran through in our game of cat and mouse was a breath of fresh air. Still, it wasn't all fun and games. Despite everything, we were still on patrol in search of clues to the fake Ura. It would be difficult to imagine that the imposter would act at this time of day, but still. I had felt an uncomfortable prickling sensation on the nape of the neck since earlier. It wasn't as though something was actually around my neck, but it certainly felt like it. Maybe someone was glaring at me. I acted as though something had caught my attention and stopped mid-step.
どうしたの？
Hey, can we check that out for a second? Akari stood still, seemingly suspicious. I put a hand on her shoulder and somewhat forcibly tugged her along. It's fine, just keep going and promise not to look behind you. I leaned in close to her ear and whispered.
耳元で。
Someone is watching us.
まさか偽裏？
Akari reflexively tried to turn around, but I held her in place. If we were to react poorly and cause whoever was watching us to leave, then I wouldn't have a chance to determine what sort of person they were. Could be. If they suspect anything, it's all over. Just play along.
わかったわ。それにしてもちょっとくっつきすぎじゃないの？
I figured you were less likely to do anything unnecessary that way.
そんなことないもん。
Yeah, that's it. Play along, just like that.
なんか釈然としない。
I held my breath and focused on tracing the uneasy feeling against my back to its source. I approximated that the gaze was coming from a seemingly hidden spot behind us. In the shadow of the utility pole behind us and to the right. On my signal, turn around, okay? 3, 2, 1. Now! It's Kureha. I saw something move from behind the utility pole and disappear down the adjacent path.
おはよ。
Akari immediately sprung into action. She must have realized it too. We followed the shady figure, but came up empty-handed.
嘘。どこに隠れたっていうの？
They ran straight into a dead end, and there were no side roads or otherwise for them to make a clean getaway. We were only seconds behind them, and they would have had to scale a fence at least 6 feet high in order to escape. They shouldn't have been able to do that unless... No sign of them. They sure bolted her.
やっぱり偽裏？
Lightning fast agility and impressively stealthy. It's highly likely, yes.
まだ遠くには行ってないはずよ。探してみましょう。
Got it. We did a full sweep of the surrounding avenues, in the shade of utility poles, behind fences, inside hedges. But the fake Ura left behind no visible trail. 手がかりを得られるかもしれなかったのに。 Akari vented her frustration onto the wall. It was rare to see her like this. Oh well, not much we can do at this point. As twisted as it is, they are skilled enough to call themselves Ura for a reason.
私何やってたんだろう。
What's wrong?
私偽裏の気配に全然気づけなかった。何のためのパトロールよ。偽裏がそこにいたっていうのに私何もできなかった。
Akari.
ねえ、どうしてケイスケは気づけたの？
Oops. Oh shit, this could get ugly, especially if she kept looking at me with that dependent look in her eyes.
ねえ、どうしたらわかるようになるの？
I could see tears swelling in the corners of her lashes, and I desperately wanted to answer her, but... What should I tell her? I couldn't exactly give her the real answer, thanks to the fruits of my Ura training. Maybe I could elaborate on my training regimen a little, if only to protect my true identity. Well, my grandpa taught me how to be more aware of my surroundings. He said it'd give him some peace of mind when wildlife is around, if I went out into the woods or something.
おじいさんから？
Yeah, he loves the outdoors. We'd go on hikes all the time. It actually came in handy, and I was able to slip by a bear once. Really saved my ass. Everything I said actually did happen. I didn't tell any lies. Yup. Akari's eyes were sparkling with admiration. Seeing her look at me that way hurt my conscience just a teensy bit.
ねえ、ケイスケ、さっきのやつ、私にもやり方を教えて。
What? She grabbed my hand without warning and leaned in close. There was a sudden aromatic whoosh, and I could get a real good whiff of her wonderful scent.
お願い、ケイスケ。
I didn't have the heart to turn down a misty-eyed girl. I mean, I was still a man. Oh well, she'd learned I had a rather suspicious skill, and I knew perfectly well that Akari was the type who wouldn't take no for an answer. Sure, that's not asking for much.
ありがとう。
Akari always seemed like a capable girl, but it was kind of charming to see how giddy she was. She reminded me of a kid who just got a new toy. Compelled by Akari's zeal to start learning right away, we stopped by a nearby forest. A quiet forest would be far easier to practice in than the middle of town, especially since it was a public area. Okay, let's start with the fundamentals. Living creatures all leave traces of some sort when active. Walking makes noise and leaves footsteps, for example. Even when idle, they will breathe and subconsciously move parts of their body, like their heads, which is impossible to conceal even in the most extraordinary of circumstances. Every living, breathing thing has a presence of some kind. This was getting into pretty unscientific territory, but Akari eagerly listened and showed no signs of skepticism. She must have either severely lamented what happened earlier, or just had a lot of trust in me.
で、それをどうやって感じるの？
Good question. In my case, my grandpa started me off by putting me in blindfold.
目隠し？
Yeah, humans rely on their eyes to receive most information. When deprived of your sight, your other senses will attempt to compensate.
目の悪い人は耳がいいなんて話は聞いたことがあるけど、同じようなもの？
Yeah, something like that. This training develops your other senses by taking away your vision.
目を隠すのはハンカチでいい？
Something thicker would be better. If possible, you will end up seeing through it.
さすがにそんな布は持ってないわ。
Oh, this works. I took off my school-issued necktie and handed it to her. Akari took it, wrapped it around her eyes, and affixed it against her head.
こう？
New CG. It's fine as long as no light seeping in.
うん。大丈夫だと思う。真っ暗だし。
Okay, I'm going to start blatantly staring at you. Search for whatever indications you can of where I'm watching you from.
わかったわ。
We'll start on the count of 20. Begin! It would probably be best if I started off with something easy. I temporarily moved away, melded into the rustling of the trees, and then quietly stood in front of her. Then I stared straight at her. Akari was so lovely as she slowly moved and angled her head in an attempt to locate my presence. I was totally clueless at first too. Maybe this was how Grandpa felt as he watched over me. She likely had no idea where I was. Akari restlessly and anxiously surveyed the area.
ねえ、ケイスケ、ちゃんといるわよね。
Yeah, I'm staring straight at you.
そこにいたの。
Oh crap, I accidentally responded. Relying solely on your hearing won't work. I won't respond next time, so try to feel my presence on your own, okay? I changed spots and gave it another try, although I remained close enough to make things easier for her.
ケイスケ、見てるんだよね。
I obviously didn't respond this time, and patiently watched over her.
全然わからないよ。
Yeah, I bet not. I couldn't pick out anything whatsoever at first.
ケイスケ、どこよ。
It was so hard to not say anything. This was bad. I shook my head and stared her down. This was a unique situation. I couldn't get ahead of myself and let the urge to protect her overtake me. She sounded so lonely though.
ケイスケ。
But bear with it. If you speak, then it's not training at all.
どこ？
Do your best, Akari. I'll be here watching over you like a hawk. But, like, how should I put this? Over the course of events, I couldn't help but find Akari incredibly alluring. Her firm yet slender legs, her tight and beautiful waistline, and those peachy tits. They were massive and were staring right at me.
見ちゃダメ。
In a panic, Akari covered her chest and cried out as her inner thighs fidgeted and twisted about. What's more, she was facing me dead on. Don't tell me that was enough for her to notice my presence.
ケイスケ。
Sorry.
やっぱりそこにいたの。でもなんで謝ってるの？
It's because... anyway, how about it? Did you sense anything this time?
なんか体中を舐め回されるような変な感じがあった。
Damn, she was sharp. Wow, perceiving so much on your first try is impressive. I knew you could do it, Akari.
ありがとう。でもってことはケイスケ、やっぱり私の体をジロジロと？
Badump? No, this is just for practice, okay?
そうよね。修行よね。
Yeah, so let's do this a few more times so you can ingrain how it feels into your body completely.
まだするの？
Yeah, we are training, you know.
修行よね。
Yeah, it's just for practice. Alright, let's follow up with a few more sets. Start.
ケイスケったら。
That was a close one. Managed to play it off somehow. Akari's reaction sent a chill down my spine, so I stayed relatively serious after that, but...
ケイスケ、右にいる？ケイスケ、後ろ？ケイスケ、前。
She had a harder time locating me now that I was serious. However, whenever my concentration waned and I started having dirty thoughts, she was able to pinpoint me fairly accurately. I wonder why. Women's intuition, maybe? Well, it was also my fault for accidentally looking at her in a lewd way. Either way, I wouldn't have expected any differently from her. At the rate we were going, she might get the hang of it relatively quickly. In the course of practice, the sun began to set. Alright, let's call it good for the day. We need to get back to patrolling too. Akari removed my necktie from around her eyes with flushed cheeks. Combined with her hot sigh, it really got my heart racing. She was so sexy. Hey, knock it off! I can't look at a friend that way. Practice was over. If I eyed her that way now.
気配を探るのって思った以上に大変かも。でもなんだか楽しかったわ。ありがとう。明日もよろしくね。
When Akari smiled at me with sweat on her brow and her arms crossed across her breasts, I couldn't help but find her extraordinarily sexy. Gah, seeing a classmate's more sensual side could honestly be incredibly destructive. The contrast to how she normally looked was exciting. I was both looking forward to our next practice session and concerned about what lay ahead. Ah, how troubling.